So I met Dad at the house. We were standing in the middle of the floor after the dad stopped. I can remember quite distinctly, and I said, I think we'd better go and sit down. I don't think he was very impressed at telling him what to do. He wasn't falling in love at first sight, really. So I felt he sort of got under my skin. Something about him.
Did you meet him soon after they arrived in Dalby?
I remember them. Everyone was intrigued that they had these 3 boys, and when they first came, people couldn't tell which was which. They didn't know which name fitted which boy. They used to have a tennis court and have tennis parties out there, Hayfields. They were good. They used to have good parties out there too. So to have a very small wedding, and then the war got 1940, which was of course during the war, and you don't feel like a big splash during a war. Anyhow, we just had family.
And where did you have the wedding?
We had the wedding in the Church of England. And Charles was in the army, and Henry might have been too, I don't know. Anyhow, Charles got home.
He was
home.
Charles was the best man, wasn't he?
Yes, he came home.
And was Ken around?
No, I think Ken might have been up Julia Creek. Though he joined up too. And he wasn't at the wedding or anything. Just a small one. We had a big dining room table.
And where you had the reception
at home
at
the bank.
At the bank.
There was only family of Granny and Granddad Pat, and I suppose Mary and Jess.
And who was your bridesmaid?
That was Belle Norris. We were been good friends. Very good friends, and she's the one that committed suicide later on.
Tell me about your wedding dress.
Well, it was a sort of Georgette, I think they bought it, and sort of puffy sleeves and full and soft and male.
Did you buy the dress?
Had it made, I think. Had it made. My dressmaker.
And what about your flowers? Bouquet?
Oh, I had a bouquet of freezers and that sort of thing, I think. Not a nice bouquet. Something old I wore, Mother's amethyst brooch, Did
you wear a blue garter?
Probably, yes. I think I did have a blue garter somewhere. I don't know where that came from. I got up and made a speech, and he said, well, he said, without much ado, he proposed a toast.
And what about the catering?
We had a cake. Nothing. I know who did the cooking. I can't even remember what we had. We probably just had chicken.
And I seem to remember there was a newspaper clipping about being decorated with sweet peas.
Oh, it could have been, I suppose. Yes, there is a clipping somewhere about that. Well, I suppose August. Would they be out in August? I think I was in a bit of a daze. I can't remember much.
Did you have a honeymoon?
Oh, yes, we had a nice honeymoon. The first night we stopped in Toowoomba and then went on and we went to a place called Sandgate, and we had to go to golf there. And that was all right. We used to go to Brisbane a bit, stop far from Brisbane. And we caught up with a lot of the boys that were in the army. And we saw Pinocchio.
What, a play?
Picture. During that period. We were away for a couple of weeks. And Dad had already, or his father, probably, put him on Kooyong. And we came back there.
You would have worked on the farm too, I suppose.
Well, I did a bit of tractor driving and, driving sheep around and that sort of thing. Well, I cooked for the harvesters when they were there.
And you have a story about a snake in a hose.
It was soon after we were married. I was starting a garden. Hose wasn't long enough, so I had it running into a downpiping thing. It was 5 o'clock and I thought I better put all that away and went over and lifted up the downpipe and the snake fell out. It hit me on the leg going down. It was all cold and wet and awful, slimy. I yelled and jumped that way and it got a fright and went that way, thank goodness.
What sort of snake was
It was
it?
a black one. First of all, I saw it fly past my head, and I thought, that's funny, what's the hose doing up there? I realised it was a snake when it hit my leg.
Yeah.
We had a lot of snakes at Kooyong, that's when we first married. And it was black soil, and if you had a lot of rain, the snakes all appeared. We weren't there very long, and this was during the war. And Bill's brothers joined up. His father wanted him to go and look after all his property.
Hayfields.
And we put a share farm on Kooyong. We never went back there again. Must have sold it eventually.
We were out at the DALBY on DALBY show day, which was April 1937. And then the next day we probably went to Hayfields first, then went down to the show.
So did all of you live at Hayfields?
Yes, we all lived at Hayfields then.
And do you remember where you met Mum?
Oh well, we were just one of the group in DALBY. And we played tennis and nearly, a lot of the places had tennis courts. We built one at Hayfield and just used to go around Sundays and play tennis.
Did you know Neil and Moy then?
Yeah, well, strangely, I think Neil was the first bloke I met at the show in DALBY. And I didn't know Moya at that stage, but they were married just after we were.
So you arrived in 1937 and then you were married in 1940.
Yes. And I had just a bit less than £500, but 460 or 480 pounds I'd saved up. And I told Father was, what would I have if I got married? Anyhow, his farm was for sale out of DALBY, so he arranged with the bank and he guaranteed the overdraft and had a tractor and farm machinery as well, and had a bit of crop in, although the place was only about half cleared, and had a house on with only £3,000, so he had arranged with the bank manager to guarantee my overdraft. I put in the £400 or £500 that I had and bought the farm. Then I went out to that farm and I patched there for 12 months.
Oh, did you? What was that farm called?
Kooyong. It was very hard black soil. It had quite a lot of uncleared land on, about half of it was uncleared.
Did you clear that?
Yeah, I cleared some of it. Anyhow, then when the war broke out and Charles went away, he left, and then Henry worked Hayfields by himself, and I worked my farm. When Japan came into the war, that would be 1941, wasn't it? Japan came in. Well, he came and spoke to me and said, if you could get someone to work your place and go back to Hayfields, he would join up too. But after a while we got family to work my place, which oddly enough was a German family, and Ollie Schultz. 1940 was a drought, and it did no good then when it broke. So anyhow they worked the farm, and then I was working Hayfields, and Henry wasn't there. But you couldn't get labour taller than that.
I suppose the women would have had to have
Yes, well,
done some.
1940, we decided that we would get married, and Mum did a lot of tractor work and everything too. When Henry left, that would have been right at the beginning of 42. My mum and myself, we moved into Hayfields. At Hayfields we had quite a lot of cultivation. In those days we got over, factory got over 1,000 acres of wheat, and there was a lot of tractor work. I think that's upset me.
In what way, Dad?
I think it upsets your nerves, your stomach. And I remember I was working up to 15, 16 hours a day. But in the meantime, I'd sold the first farm that I had, the Schultz family was on. There was no trees or anything on Hayfields, and we used to get our firewood from that farm. They took the truck out one day, and Ollie Schultz himself was cutting firewood, and he put his hand down on the saw and cut the three of them across there, right off the three. And I just looked at it, and these two were gone altogether, and this one was hanging by the skin. Bumped him onto the truck and took him in, and we had to go past the house to get in, and Mrs. Schultz came out, and he just had his hand with a big lump of dirty rag around it, and we didn't tell her anything at the time, and just said, well, we've got to go into town for a while. And so we went pulled into Dr. Hawthorne, and he came out and looked at him and said, I'll take him out to the hospital. And anyhow, he must have just nicked a bit of skin. It was only just hanging. And he lost his three fingers. But even going into town on the truck, he was more worried about he wouldn't be able to play his accordion than anything else. But he did learn to play the accordion with his little finger and his thumb. But anyhow, after that it didn't work very well with him working the place and me working Hayfield, so I sold that farm, and after a while there was another farm came up for sale just north of DALBY on the Geebeeginba plain, and so anyhow I bought that farm with the money I sold the other one for, and I think that worked a bit better.
You were bored when we were at Hayfields.
That's living in the house, Hayfields house.
Yes, it wasn't terribly satisfactory. I wasn't very happy, actually. I used to like to get out and did the gardening there. I used to like to get out in the afternoon and take you out in the garden. You had to have a bottle. You didn't want very keen on the bottle. I used to say, yeah, this is nice. You used to call milk 90. We lived there, we managed, and I used to help Bill drive the tractor a bit there. And then a few years later John was born. He was born when we were there, so he must have been there for a few years. Anyhow, John was quite different. He'd drink anything I stuffed in his mouth. He had a voracious appetite. Big.
They have a special name for him at the hospital?
Yes, he was a big baby and they called him John Bull. And he was born just after Elizabeth. And Moira and I were in the hospital at the same time.
Was Moira one of the general group in DALBY?
Yes, we had this is a few years before, we had a little theatre, a repertory society, and we used to put on little plays and things. And Moira, after I was married, because Moira must have been married a bit later, not much, she and Warwick were in a play. Warwick was in it, but although he joined the army very young, he joined at 18, joined the Air Force. So he wouldn't have been around too long during the war. And he got into flying these fighter bombers, they call them, Bostons, and went to New Guinea. He was always, luckily he was all right. He used to fly over.
I can remember him flying over the shed. We were in the shed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the meantime, Father wanted to give the boy, the other two, property when they came back. He said he'd sell the top half of Hayfields. It was 750 acres he had cut off. That didn't have a house or shed or anything on it. So I thought that was a better land, better country than the place I had up at Geebeeginba. So I sold the place up at Geebeeginba and bought this 750 acres from Father at Hayfields. But then it was known then that they were going to break up the big properties around DALBY for a soldier settlement. And there was this place that Kent owned at John Darien. It was a part of John Darien station that they decided that they would sell before they were resumed. And so Father bought 2,000, or just over 2,000 acres fairly near to DALBY from John Darien. It was a big place, and gave 1,000 acres each to Charles and Henry. And I took on 750 acres that I bought from Father. But anyhow, when the war finished, the boys came back and owned these two farms, about 1,000 acres each. And then they got another share farmer for Hayfields, Andy Skirman. And I built a big shed, and I built a house on my block at the end.
And so you moved down there just before the end of the war?
Yeah.
You moved into the shed?
Yes. Had to start with, and then built a few rooms into the shed. Kitchen, sort of living room, and probably 2 bedrooms on the side. And because I used to do the washing out under the other open part of the shed, and I had a copper out there. And we moved there for a while, and then while I built the house. No, I built all the house myself except the roof. You can remember going to school from there, walking up to the road.
I can remember catching the bus.
Catching the bus.
Yeah.
And can you remember bringing the cow home in the afternoon? That'd be down to the shed. If we could go into town, we could go one down the main road, or else go round through Hayfields. Yes, well, if we went through Hayfields, we'd drop you off to bring the cow home. I know Mother was horrified that we used to drop you off about this high, because it had quite a tame old house cow. I always thought it rather strange that Lower was a wheat farmer, I suppose you'd call me a wheat farmer, and used to grow a bit of sorghum. But the things that really put us on our feet were was a crop of canary seed that I grew up in the Geebeeginba place. When I had that, it was a very heavy crop, and the crop went down. It was lying on the ground, and I was flat out looking for a header that would take it and would harvest it. But,
what do they use? Canary?
Canary seed.
What's that for?
Well, they always used to say it was used for feeding canaries, but there was something more to it during the war, because it always made a good price, and you could always sell it during the war years. I took up the header that we had at Hayfields. It was a big Hallwood bagshaw, and that harvested. But I remember I made, quite a lot of money. But Also, after the 1946 drought, when we didn't have any wheat, we didn't even plant wheat that year, we planted in a reasonable area of sorghum, which got a very heavy crop. And I think it'll probably be the next year, after I burnt the wheat stubble, I planted a crop of Japanese millet. Before we came down to the coast for a holiday, and that grew very well because it must have been a wet summer, and made a lot of money out of, or quite good money out of millet. So what with canary seed and sorghum and millet, probably made more money than I did out of wheat.
We went into the shed when David was very young. No, he was born when we were in the shed. Dad had a very bad kidney stone attack when, I think it must have been this day when David was born. I think it might have been. John was only a baby, really. He was 17 months.
Yeah.
No, I used to feed David. He used to get really upset. He'd get chasing after Bill, wherever Bill might be, out in the paddock somewhere.
So you moved from Hayfields down to
the shed.
To the shed at Ceres.
Yeah. I would say they were one of the happiest days of my life, strangely, living in a shed. Well, they had a couple of rooms built on. There used to be a shed, and then in the back, other part of the shed, would be stacked up with wheat. If anyone came, you must have been sorry. You'd what I call go bush. You get up on these wheat beds. We had a flood, and there were fish in the drains along the side of the road. I don't think it came inside, but some of the nasty insects did. You had a pony, do you remember that?
Yes.
Pony?
And how long did you live in the shed for? Because Dad built a house, didn't he?
He was building the house while we were in the shed. Yes, I looked out one day and here's John. Well, John was old enough to climb up the ladder, the top of the ladder out on the roof, just about. Now he would have been 2 or 3 then, wouldn't he? And then he got a bit run down. He sort of worked very hard with the boys away. And so...
You said that it was the tractor driving.
Yeah. I was really very happy living in that shed. Yeah. We moved to the house, that was nice. The boy children used to come over a fair bit. You all got on pretty well, I think, but you got into mischief. I can remember painting David. Then you painted the front of our new car. It was Elizabeth. And he said, John made me. Which I quite believe. I remember the fire started in a little area of trees. We had a sort of reserve.
Yeah, so you weren't living in the house for very long before you came down here then?
No, we sold the house. And someone moved it, bought it for removal. Oh. And it burnt down.
Dad said you came down for a holiday or something with Moya and Neil. And...
Yeah, that was when Dave was only about 2. And we had a Christmas tree. We made a Christmas tree. Granny wanted to come along and see that, so she did.
So Granny
Pat.
So they were already living at Southport, were they?
That's right. Yeah, yes, they were. Because I can remember going for a holiday in Granny's house. I don't know where they were.
That was the Kingsville house.
Yeah. And Marie and Neil came with us. That must have been from DALBY.
Tell me about your friendship with the Wilds.
Yes, well...
How did you get to know Moya?
Well, I knew her before I was married because she was in the little theatre. And then I went to her engagement party. I remember going to that, the party. But anyhow, we really got friendly afterwards. They got a tennis court, and we started playing tennis a bit because we used to take your children, and Mother used to come and look after you, but we used to like her. We got to know them through tennis, and then they used to invite us out there for tennis. Well, we kept that friend, you know, it grew and the children got on well, and we got on well, and before we came down, then we had holidays at the same time. At one time, we holidayed in the same place, but we came down and brought all the luggage, and we had a truck. And Neil came and brought all the kids. I remember him saying they went stop to have lunch at Marburg or somewhere, and trooped in with all these children. He said people would bleed, or you can imagine what Neil was like, glaring at him and giving boy sympathetic looks at all these children. That's the same age, I suppose. And it was nice because the children did get on well. Anyhow, it was one of the nicest things that happened to us, I suppose.
Oh, yes.
And Neil and Moya and Mum and myself came down for a holiday. That would have been 1949. While I was down, I was looking in Hardy's window there, and they had this farm for sale just out of BURLEIGH. So I got the idea then of having a spell from tractor work in DALBY. I said to Mum, you know, what about us having a spell from there for a year or two and come down by this place out here? So that's what we did. We bought Geebeeginba and all that land for £3 an acre. Actually, there wasn't that most of the swamp. There was only the edge of the swamp at that time. It was 103 acres, I remember, £3 an acre. And then I bought the swamp running right back into BURLEIGH. And then I bought the Maddox farm very cheaply too. By that time, I think we were more or less decided about living here for a while, and I had another man on the farm up at DALBY. But then when we got settled in down here, I sold the farm at DALBY in 1954. Nothing much on Geebeeginba. The fellow before had horses there, I think. And anyhow, when we bought it, we bought a lot of chooks and chickens. We ran them in the stable. We only had the chickens for about 1 year. So there were pineapples there on the first place, Geebeeginba, and the bananas on a place across the road that had the dairy. And I put a man on to work the dairy. And not have we ever made much money out of the dairy. Then we planted up bananas up the top of the hill.
Did you make much out of the bananas?
I don't expect so. But they're pretty hard work, I know. Yes, well, the work we did bringing that drain in from Dunlop's drain right into the West BURLEIGH Road.
Yes. And that was to stop it flooding, was it?
Well, that was to, yes.
It used to flood across there.
Oh, yes, it used to flood and used to come into the West BURLEIGH Road.
And when did you get into finding the mineral sands?
Oh, yes, well, in Bev Hughes, from across the road, and Bill McLean, he was our milkman at the time. But Bev came and said, we'd be interested in looking for some mineral sands. So we we went hunting along the coast for this mineral sand. There were a couple of big mineral sand developers. They used to take out leases on all the big areas of ground, and we were just looking for these small areas. And we used to look at the small area and test it to see if it had black sand on it, and then go up to the mineral deposits. And they used to send one of their men down to test it and pay us so much a tonne, I suppose, for it. And we made quite a lot of money out of it. We did a few very worthwhile blocks, including the school ground, BURLEIGH school ground, and the Diana Avenue area. That was all in one block there.
And did you actually mine the school ground?
Yes, or rather mineral deposits did. And there was a big area of the school ground and levelled it off. It was all rough, undeveloped, sort of coastal. When mineral deposits they mined it and then levelled it off and grassed it. And the same with Diana Avenue area. And the other good leases was up at Miami. There was an area there of 3 acres that had a lot of mineral sand on. But the other very rich area of sand was where the borer ground is on here. But strangely, that area there has got a rock strip on the seaward side of it and running right around past the borer ground and up there. But when we took out the lease, there was such an outcry about the borer ground that anyhow we didn't touch the borer ground. But even on only a couple of blocks of ground really, on the southern side of the borer ground, Corumba Minerals sent up a drag line and carted the whole lot away. They paid us, no, we didn't get anything out of that. They paid us about £1,000 for it, and we gave that £1,000, that was from Blaine myself, we gave that to the council to beautify the borer ground.
Did they ever do this?
The council never did anything to it. We made about £9,000, which was a fair bit of money there, each, out of our mining venture. I can always remember Bill McLean, when we got our first big pay from mineral deposits. I think they were £3,000 each, and we had these cheques in our hand. We called them to the golf club at that stage, and Bill McLean was so overwhelmed with all this money that he got his pockets cheque on the counter and asked for a drink. I used to subdivide, cut bits off and sell blocks of land.
I knew that you'd subdivided the bit, over in
the Tambourine Street, yes, there was an area there, and then there was the area that went from Reedy Creek Road right up to the top of the West BURLEIGH Hill.
So how many of the streets did you name?
I named all of those streets at Tambourine Street. I named one Matilda. There was a little street up the other end, and named Kooyong. One I think that ran down to near the police station down this end. I think it's Banjo. I was going to name the main street. Went up there, Robin Street after Robin, but when I put it into the council, they refused it because there was another Robin Street at Mermaid Beach, and so I had to think of another name. And the BURLEIGH Bunyip.
That's right.
That was out in the swamp there. So I got the idea. I said, well, we'll call it Bunyip Street. I subdivided all of the West BURLEIGH Road.
And then you further out towards West BURLEIGH, when you went around the hill a bit, you put a dam and you planted big trees.
Yes, planted a few trees. There were hoop pine and some flooded gum probably. He eventually sold all of the land. Well, they knocked that hill down too. The hill where Maddox's house was, and the dairy. Yes, we still own the, I don't know how many there were, but probably a dozen blocks within the Tambourine subdivision when we moved down to Hillcrest.
Did you?
Sold them all in a block to one fellow. But they moved the tennis club, the police, the ambulance, a few other things like that.
That's right.
Because these other people came in and built the drive-in.
They bought the land.
They bought that land down from the house and built the drive-in. I did speak to Wobbly. He was the chairman of the drive-in group. I said, it's a bit, awkward if you can look down and see the pictures without hearing any voice, and he decided to run the speaker up.
It's great, wasn't it?
Yeah, that part worked in all right. Well, then one of the board owned the drive-in. He decided to buy the drive-in out and turn it into a shopping centre. I think I was down at Hillcrest then. I sold the land, the balance, at the top of the hill, and ran down to the swamp past there, to the Catholic Church, where Maddox's house and my dairy was. That was a continuation of the hill we were on. But that was levelled off first, but then all the swamp being turned into top grade housing subdivision.
So when you built these units, like houses,
Started building these in 1959. Didn't finish them probably in 1961. I started there, the block along the front, to see how they went. And at that time, it sold that block, and then built the next piece around to about number 11. And then they were all selling pretty well. So I bought this block of ground here, carried around to make it the use.
they must have been some of the biggest blocks.
Oh, it was the first block. Yeah. Yes, I just got the idea of building this top unit, when I sold Geebeeginba, and I thought, I can build another unit up on top here without any land cost, and so and that's how this one came to be. Bad financial time, and I couldn't sell quite a few of these units. And David Hill said to me, he's got someone up at Wandoan that he can't sell his farm, wants to sell out up there, and could make a swap of some units here for the farm up there. Well, at that time John might have been at Gatton at that time, and anyhow he had ideas of becoming a cattle farm, and so that was the reason I bought that Wandoan place. That didn't turn out to be a very good investment. So we moved out because all the big developers were starting to come in, coast then. Some of them were a bit shady, and some of them had financial different ideas to mine. So I decided to get out of developing it.
We came down here in 1949, is that right?
Yeah, you would have been about 7.
And we moved up.
Geebeeginba. We liked it. We adapted pretty quickly and played tennis in town. We didn't have a court for a while. We built a court later on with lights. And Nan had it was very busy because he grew bananas. pineapples, I think, at one stage, and sorts of things. And we had a poultry farm on it. I know when we were walking into the boys' room, find them both nursing it, sitting on their beds. We had a garden. You could have a dog, and you could have cats.
We had a few dogs, didn't we?
Ticks were a problem. Well, we always had Cocker Spaniels, and then, of course, when Grandad came down here, he had Warwick stock.
So was that Claude?
Yeah, it was Claude. He was a red and white cock. And he came up to us, and I think he got a tick.
Or snake bite.
Oh, no, that's right, it was a snake bite. It was too late to do anything for it. It was a snake bite. That's right. Yeah, that was sad.
So Granny and Grandad moved down to the house in 4th Avenue.
Yeah.
How long were they there before Granny got sick?
Oh, they were there for a few years. She had high blood pressure. But I don't think she was very well when she was out at DALBY.
But she came up and you looked after her when she got sick.
She came up and lived with us at Geebeeginba.
Well, she'd had a stroke, hadn't she?
Yeah. The only thing that was working was her heart and hand. She nearly had a nervous breakdown when that was all over. Yeah. But she used to like coming to tennis. She used to look after you children down at the court, didn't she?
She did, yes.
Give you things she shouldn't have given you. Fill you up with sweets or something. Oh, Granny Annie. When we had Christmas parties, she used to come up and help us get it ready. Yes, I used to feed these kookaburras, and apparently got a bit impatient and came inside, and he landed on the bench beside Granny, and she went, "Ooh!" And then it flew away and landed on the saucepan handle, which tipped up naturally. Then it got a fright. Eventually took off. John was keen on animals. He had a pig, I remember. We had to feed the straps there. We got a pony there, didn't we?
That pony had a foal.
Yes, the foal fell down the well or something.
Did you get it out?
Yeah, so we got it out. I remember that we had some chooks in that little shed out the back. And there's a couple of big carpet snakes in there one day. I think there might have been a big bulge in the middle of one too. John's favourite chooks. Yeah, I've ever seen these great big splotches on the wall in the chook house. They just curl themselves up around something on the wall. But the other snake we had was when you were quite old.
Oh, the one on the veranda when you were away.
Yeah, we went up to watch the Davis Cup or something and left all you children together. First inkling of that was this awful screeching of this frog when we dragged in through that hole. It came up on the veranda. He had the presence of mind to go and get the neighbour. He dispatched it. Remember that cat we had then?
Yes.
Yeah, it had a nervous breakdown after that.
Yes.
Yeah, and he had to put a belt on the floor again. Just on the liner. And we lived out there. There was supposed to be a bunyip in the swamp when we first came down. And they said they used to make these strange noises, and someone said they thought it might have been a crocodile.
Yeah. Did you hear noises?
No, I didn't hear noises. I heard there used to be strange birds out there. Used to hear at night. Strange plaintive cries at night. And when Mr. Play came down, he used to prowl around out there and found some unusual snakes in the swamp. black and white one. I think a very poisonous one. Because there's a lot of peat there where I used to catch a fire pretty regularly, and they used to have fires.
Yes.
They used to have floods too, and before they built that drain across. That helped with the flooding a lot.
Remember a big cyclone while we were living out there?
Yes, we did, didn't we? You said, do you think the roof will go? It was going flip, flip, flip. I said, oh, no, of course not. Fortunately, the cyclone passed over by about 10 o'clock, and it all was calm. It was really hectic while it lasted. Stripped off the picture theatre roof, and the sea was coming across the road. That was the worst cyclone we ever had.
Yeah, so Robin was born down here, of course.
She was born when we were at Geebeeginba.
Yes. And at that time were you president of golf then?
Yes, I had to give that away. I did 2.5 years, I think.
How did you feel when Robin was coming along?
Oh, I got used to it. It was a shock to the system, but once I got resigned to it, I was thrilled.
It must have been soon after Robin was born that you came in here?
She was about, yes. Oh, she was about, must have been nearly 3. Might have been 2.
So did you like to move into White Horses? You thought that was a good move?
Well, I was quite happy, but David thought it was a disaster.
Yeah. And when did you start playing golf?
I think we started to play about 56 or something like that. We played on 4 holes or 5 holes or something for a start, and then we got to 9. We had a lot of fun because it was a pretty small membership, as you can imagine. And we used to do our own catering, and we had a lot of fun putting on plays and acts and things.
That was for your associates' dinner?
Yes, we used to put on little acts and plays, and said to Audrey Aitken that I'm sure we started off because the next thing is all over Australia.
Yes, that's right.
And she thinks so too.
Yes.
Dan did a lot of work out there. He really did. He more or less mapped out that second night. And when they got a pro to look at it later, he said it was a good layout. They had a lot of working bees and things like that. Didn't have any money much. It's got longer and harder since those days.
You a champion?
Or only when there wasn't anyone else. I was the only one who'd played before. And I soon got cut down to size. Won a couple. I think I might have won once or twice. Won the mixed a couple of times. Won a mix with Dad once. We still played tennis at night. We had that court with lights on, and we played night tennis after we started golf.
So you were involved in the golf club by then?
Oh yes. Yeah.
So when
that started when Kevin Snee and Duncan McRae, he was an estate agent here, came out to me at Geebeeginba and said they were thinking of starting a golf club, and it was any suitable ground that I had there, and but there was nothing really suitable on Geebeeginba because it ran down into the swamp. Another fellow had this area of land up at Miami, about 160 acres I think he had. Kevin Snee and Duncan McRae decided that was a more, was quite suitable ground for a golf club. But anyhow, in the meantime, Duncan McRae had sold his business here, and he went off to Sydney, and that left Kevin Snee by himself. And I suppose he knew that I was fairly free as far as time goes, and so he got me involved in the golf club.
So did you put any money into it?
No. Oh, well, they had to find this £1,600 and they started selling debentures. That's how the land was paid for out there, but they had no money to do developing or buy machinery. We got mineral deposits that we knew, but they had a big tractor. They did a lot of clearing out there. We gave them a lot of topsoil to, they mined the beachfront right along here from Little Burley right down, and they had to regrass it all afterwards. So they used the soil from the golf club and coated a lot of this.
And what about the layout, the design of the club?
Well, there's a fellow came along the coast here, a fellow Scott. He said, here's a golf course architect. He did 5 holes. And I think we paid him £80 a green to do, and he ran out of money and we couldn't do any more. We had to put him off. So anyhow, we started with those 5 holes, and then got up to 8, and then got up to 9. And then Jim Tancred, he's a meatworks at the Desert Meatworks, and he said he would lend us £3,000 to get the 9 holes going, or to get the golf club started, put it that way.
Have you been playing golf?
I never used to play.
No.
Mum played. But anyhow, around 1959, I think it was, Jim Tancred said he'd lend us another £3,000 at 4.5% interest to bring it up to 18 holes. I was Greens director in those days and had been for a few years. And I said to him, well, who's going to do the layout, the architecture and all that? And he said, well, you won't have much money, with the £3,000. He said, could you have a look at it, see if you've got any ideas, and then come back after a few months and we'll discuss it, after a while. So anyhow, I used to go out there and really spare bit of time I had and get some ideas. I went to Brisbane and tried to buy a book on golf course architecture and couldn't buy anything at all. But somehow or other, Judith Percy, who was a top women golfer in Queensland or in Australia, she had a book or information, I think she got from America, but she lent it to me. I suppose there were a lot of good hints in it. And anybody that came along who were golfers, they used to come in and walk around the place with me and give some ideas. And anyhow, I eventually nutted out a bit of a circuit there. So we got a tractor, I think it was a mineral deposit tractor again, and I just rode around with him, and we just cleared a strip up the middle of where this fairway would be, and then back up the other one would be, and then the next one, then the next one. Just sort of nutted them out like that. And then they were gradually widened, we had working bees out there to burn up the stuff and do a lot of work. Anyhow, it's all
worked out really
quite,
that's right.
quite well. Yeah, had quite a few people reckon it's a good design out there.
You were playing tennis down here?
Yes, from the 1950s,
Yes. You were playing tennis?
Yes, we all played tennis.
Do you remember, what year did you build the tennis court up at?
We built that, I think, shortly after we went up there. So we bought another farm down, and it was called Kooyong. I went down, used to go down occasionally, and used to spread a bit of super and
Was there someone working on there?
That was during the 65 drought. All he was doing was just feeding some cattle. And we used to run a few cattle up from this other place in Texas. But anyhow, Ian McLean gave us advice, and so I got him to have a look at this cultivar, this place, and decide what the best thing to do. He came and gave quite a long screed of what to do, what to clear, what not to clear. Alternative would be to sell this place that I just bought and never used. And he said there's a very nice place, down near Armadale, that would be a lot better property in the future. So anyhow, we didn't do anything at the time. We were going for a holiday down that way. And this was some time after I got that letter from Ian McLean about selling out that other place and buying this one. He said, oh, well, while we're on the way, we might as well call in and have a look at this place. Anything I won't do any harm. So we decided it looked a lot better. The position was so much better. And so we made a deal that I'll give him this other place at Bernice, and I think there'll be some cash adjustment as well. Take on Hillcrest, and that's how we're going to get Hillcrest. So we went there at the end of 1965. Robert had to start school at the beginning of the 66 year. We wanted to get there before the school year started. So we moved down there as Ken Arnold was rebuilding, making alterations to the house down there. The house was pretty rugged, and he had this big extension where the lounge present on the bedrooms down that other side. They weren't there. There was no ceiling in the present you might call a dining room where the kitchen is. There was the bedroom, the spare bedroom, that used to be the lounge. So anyhow, after we went there, we had to get work done on the house. And then I also bought 3,000 sheep from Ken Arnold. There were 20 acres of apples. I kept them for a few years and then pulled them all out. I never made very much out of the apples. But at that stage we had quite a big overdraft. And then 65 was a very severe drought. And 66 too, I think.
You had a few years of drought, didn't you, when you were at Hillcrest?
Well, you always used to get droughts about every few years.
And you were at Hillcrest for
12 years.
12 years. I think we should talk about you at Hillcrest.
He went there because he said he got sick of the rat race on the coast. I was quite happy to go, and I thought it'd be good for Robin to be a bit more open space. We went down so we'd be there for school year starting. It must have been 66, that must have been. We went down, Ken Arnold was still living there. He was renovating the house, and he stayed there for a while. It was a big house. We lived in, I think we lived in that spare room. We went down. It was very, very cold. If you went out and opened your mouth, the cold wind would make your throat sore. And we had a fire, an open fire. But it was later that we put the heaters in. But you adapt. We had snow a few times. Robin didn't turn a hair, but I suppose when you're young you adapt very quickly.
Yes.
She used to go to school, the bus. I used to always walk down with her when she was little to the bus. pet lamb and the cat and Paddy. And Robin and I used to go down. And yes, we got that. We got Paddy in Tamworth. We went down and got him specially for Robin to have a dog. But he's a nice doggy. Paddy, dashing past us all, and we'd say, "What was that?" Oh, yeah, they were good days.
And you joined the golf club?
Yes. I enjoyed it because it was very handy there. Not many playing. If we had 20 people, it's a good field. Oh no, I enjoyed the golf.
And how did you find living on the farm with all the sheep?
Oh, I liked that. I'm a bit of a farm girl, I think. I liked that. That was no trouble helping Bill and get sheep in and draft them out and do all that sort of thing. And we also had an orchard. He used to help him a bit with spraying. I didn't do any packing or anything. I might have one stage. And the apple industry collapsed a bit. Now we had one particularly good harvest and we didn't make a profit. So we decided to cut it out.
It wasn't worth it.
No. So we didn't have an orchard anymore. Just a few odd trees. Well, I think it was about 12 or 13 years we were down there. Well, at that time, Robin had finished school. We got John to come down and they took over the place and we decided to go for a trip. We did some caravanning first, and I think we did it for a few months, and then did a bit more after we came back. We only caravanned around Queensland, and Robert was staying with Maria, and she stayed with them, and she got a job in a baker's shop or something. Make some money. She came with us.
Came with you? Not caravan?
No, when we went overseas.
Tell me some of the highlights of that trip.
I think the whole thing was, I've never had such a long trip before, just to get on the plane, this huge plane, and settle down for, I don't know how long it took to get to Athens, touchdown in Singapore, I think, and by rain. We saw an Arab fellow with a string of wires walking along. It was interesting. We landed in Greece. We looked around Athens and we had a trip around the Greek islands and went to Rome. We went to the Colosseum. We went to the St. Peter's Cathedral. It was very, very impressive. All those lovely paintings and frescoes wherever they are. There are a lot of Michelangelo statues there, aren't there? From there to Florence to Nice, and from there to Barcelona. We enjoyed Spain. Went to Madrid, we saw Picasso's gallery. I think it might have been in Barcelona. We had a Europass and travelled from the train to Paris and went to see the Louvre. Well, we went to Notre Dame Cathedral. We went to Amsterdam. That was interesting too. There's a big gallery there. We saw the Night Watchman. It's an interesting painting. We saw the Van Gogh gallery. Eventually we got to York. You met us at 2 o'clock in the morning, didn't you? I think we stayed there about a week.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. And after a week we got boarded the train, went down to King's Cross in London. Because everywhere we went, sorted out the galleries.
Yes. And
from London, we hired a car.
You came back through
Japan. We flew Japanese Airlines to Sydney. We got off the plane in Sydney. Got on a domestic flight to Kooyong. When you've been away, it's always lovely to get home again. We must have gone to Hillcrest, pick up the caravan and head off again. We worked our way down I remember driving down through the Grampians, eventually got down on the coast, and then we went to South Australia to Mount Gambier. We drove in the caravan up as far as Adelaide and parked there for a while and had a good look at Adelaide. And then we drove up through Barossa. We stayed at Barossa, that's right, and there was a terrific storm when we were there, and there were big trees blown over. You know those lovely big gum trees they have in South Australia? One of those blown over. Goodness. We enjoyed there. We had a good look round Barossa and went to the vineyards and eventually got up about as far as Flinders Ranges. Yeah, that's right. We went up straight up and stayed near that Wilpena Pound. And there was a fella going on a flight round there, and they wanted a couple of passengers, so we went with them. Flew right round that Wilpena.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, great. And got back to Orroroo, where Granddad Addie was born, and had a look round the town. Of course, the mill had disappeared. We went to the council chambers, and there was the moose's head. That was Walter. He was a very good rifle shot, and he went to England and competed in the Bisley Prize and won that, and then came back through Canada and did a bit of shooting, and they presented him with this moose's head in Canada. Oh. And then he must have not known what to do with it, so he gave it to the council, and it's still hanging there. And then we started for home. We eventually headed for Broken Hill, and we stayed at Broken Hill. Anyhow, and then we had a look at the gallery there, you know, Bohart. He had a look at his gallery. I think we might have come back through Canberra that time.
So you'd have been away 6 months or so?
Yeah. We must have gone through Hillcrest because we left the caravan there, drove on here. We didn't do any more caravanning after that.
Yes, it was quite a long trip we had. Oh, we were away for about 5 months. So we saw a fair bit of Europe. First of all we went to Greece, then Italy, then Spain, and then up to France. Then I think we went to England for a while. Then went back and went to Germany, Austria, then Scandinavian countries. Then we came back to England, and then went to Japan on the way home. Spent a few weeks in Japan. Went up to see Suji up at, she lived right up in the north of the main island.
So what did you do when you came back?
When we came back here, for a period, because we bought the caravan down at URALLA and went off from there when we went caravanning. We did the rounds, went down through western New South Wales, down to Ballarat, and then Geelong, Victoria, south of Victoria, up to Adelaide, then up to Barossa Valley, and Flinders Ranges, came back through Broken Hill.